one's got your name on it. This one's got your name.
Twins check.
Billowing surge.
Cool. Face your guilt. Let's begin.
What's up guys, welcome to today's video of Free-to-Play Xilonen Showcase. Same as usual, let me show you my build first. Level 90 Xilonen with R5 Favonius Sword. For your information, there's absolutely no reason to go for any defense sword, because all it does is improve her healing, nothing else at all. And since her healing comes from the burst, Favonius becomes the only best free-to-play weapon for her, as it not only solves her own energy problem, but also generates energy for the others, basically killing two birds with one stone. As for the artifact, obviously we should go for the 4-piece Scroll of Hero, ideally with the main stats of defense and healing, plus a 40% crit rate just from the sub stats. Though it's okay for you to go for crit rate circle for better consistency. Now as for her talent, you should crown her elemental skill if possible. That's the source of her resistance shred, which will make her just as strong as Kazuha. As for the burst, honestly it depends on your needs. For your benefits, it's approximately 7% improvement per talent level, so upgrade it as you fit. Alright, as she's a pure support, not much else to talk about other than showing you which team benefits the most from her. And the first of it is the absolute top #1 beneficiary, the Almighty Dragon Neuvillette. Yeah, of all characters in this game, the strongest one is literally having the best trait. By trading out Baiju, it's a massive 36% damage boost to his attacks, which is just absolutely nuts. Honestly, I'm completely speechless about this. On top of that, with a proper rotation, it's possible to heal area out to maximize Furina's buff for even more damage. But honestly, it's not like you need this at all, because Neuvillette alone is already capable of messing up the buff himself, with or without healer. By the way, do keep in mind that Xilonen only works with C1 Neuvillette and above, otherwise you will be interrupted to oblivion without Zhongli's shield. But fear not, he's only slightly weaker than Xilonen if you are using the Archive Petra and collected crystals. But still, honestly with this kind of buff, I seriously think C1 Neuvillette might stay as the strongest DPS even until the next country. So enjoy the feast, Ultimates! Alright, another top beneficiary that's comparable to Neuvillette is our Mafia girl, Navia. To be honest, I almost lose hope of her with how they designed Choli, but I guess it's better late than never, because Xilonen is exactly what I thought to be for her. A strong dual support that's even comparable to Kazuha. So with Xilonen replacing Zhongli, finally Navia has found her best strongest team. Compared to the previous, it's yet another 35% improvement once again, and that's not even counting the damage boost to Xianlin's Pinonado. But still, there's just a small flaw to it. Xilonen cannot generate crystals off you at all, so you'll be completely reliant on Navia's burst for her own bullets, which means she now demands energy recharge. But luckily Favonius Xilonen helps atone for this, so you should be able to get away without investing too much on energy recharge. Now since Navia pairs so well with Xilonen, you don't have to limit yourself with Pyro combo. Take Double Hydro for example. Damage wise is a little bit weaker than Pyro Duo, but you no longer have to deal with Bandit Circle anymore, and I personally see that as an absolute win. So don't be shy to try out some other team composition for Navia, you might find something that's even better than Bennett and Xiaoning combo. Just saying. Funnily enough, Navia's best friend Clorinde also receives a decent buff for Xilonen as well. For your information, while the best team for Clorinde is the Pure Quicken, in which Xilonen joins as a complete upgrade over Zhongli and Kazuha. By the way, the same also applies to other Earthor DPS too, but for the sake of your time, I'll be taking Clorinde as the example for this. Compared to Archive Petra Zhongli, obviously the damage becomes better with Xilonen. But the crucial part of it is that her buff lasts throughout the entire rotation, unlike Archive Petra which expires halfway. That's how Xilonen truly beats Zhongli. But as trade-off, you lose the interrupt resistance from the shield, which is a real trouble against any aggressive enemies. Honestly, that's the only downside to this team. But nevertheless, it's one of the best teams for Xilonen to join, so definitely try it out with any of your Electro DPS. Well, Kokomi is quite a special one. Unlike all the others I mentioned, there's no change to her damage whatsoever, as Kazuha is just as strong as Xilonen in terms of buffs. So instead, she benefits from longer buff duration which easily covers her whole rotation, making this team far more easier and comfortable to play. On top of that, against multiple waves of enemies, unlike Kazuha who has to reapply buffs for every single waves, Xilonen works perfectly without having to switch characters at all, which is extremely helpful for Kokomi because her burst ends the moment you switch her out. That's why for this mono Hydro team, Xilonen is a complete upgrade over Kazuha. Well, of course, we lose the grouping ability as trade-off, but honestly that's not really a big deal because all of our attacks are purely single target, so it doesn't really matter whether the enemies are good out or not. Well, in any case, it's good to see our queen getting buffed once again, which honestly becomes an annual tradition already. Similar to Kokomi, Ryo also benefits extremely well from long buff duration. For your information, even after they've introduced Emily, the double pyro combo still remains one of the best options for Ryo. Previously we get to choose either Kazuha, Zhongli or even Emily for the last slot, but now with Xilonen, she easily becomes the best choice. By the way, you might be wondering how she beats Zhongli for this team. Well, the reason is actually kinda funny. Zhongli lost because he's too good in protecting people, which prevents Ryo from getting hit and buff his charge attack. Yeah, that's how Xilonen becomes the best support for Ryo. Now I guess it's time for some other teams that technically work with Xilonen, but not exactly ideal and perfect. The first one is gonna be our parry, Arlecchino. She's one of the DPS who doesn't benefit from Xilonen at all because of her anti-healing passive talent. That's why Xilonen to her is literally a weaker version of Kazuha minus the grouping. At the same time, a longer buff duration means very little to her either, since you can always switch out Arlecchino to reapply buffs at any time you like. So unless you are facing elemental enemies, Kazuha is still a better support for Arlecchino. On the other hand, she can try to replace Zhongli out of the team, but honestly that's not a wise idea either. Although the damage becomes slightly better than Archive Petra Zhongli, she takes a huge hit to her survivability with the loss of shield, especially for C0 Arlecchino who doesn't even have interrupt resistance. On top of that, she has to use her burst for healing, meaning that you can't save out her bone of life for the next rotation onwards. Basically cancels out all the improvements from Xilonen. So that's why it's best for her to stick with Kazuha and Zhongli for the time being. Coincidentally, Hutao also shares a similar fate as Arlecchino, because she also rejects all kinds of healing in order to keep out her buffs, which is only achievable with Zhongli's shield. So trading him for Xilonen will only result in a very minimal boost in damage. Besides, she already has a much better team composition available, and that's the plunge team with Xianyun. It's especially good for C0 Hutao as it completely solves the stamina problem along with having better AoE against clouds. So as far as meta goes, you should stick with Xianyun and Furina. As if that's not enough, Yoimiya, once again another pyro DPS, also doesn't like Xilonen. Although she has no problem with healing, she heavily relies on interrupt resistance to even attack properly, which once again only Zhongli is capable to do that. Well, I just remember Lily also suffers from the same problem as well, so unless you have a very good gaming chair, you should stick with Zhongli rather than Xilonen. But of course, you can always try bringing them both together, but in that case, C6's engine is better in buffing Yoimiya's damage. That's not even mentioning Xilonen has to react with Pyro for full buffs, which is not that easy, especially with Yelan's Hydro. So yeah, it seems like all Pyro DPS hate Xilonen for some reason. So I guess we'll have to wait for Mavrika to change that. Now finally we have come to the conclusion. In my opinion, C0 Xilonen is easily one of the best support in the game, possibly even better than Kazuha and Jolie since she's a healer. That's basically all the reasons you need to pull her. However, there are some concerns that I would really like to share with you. Although Xilonen is undoubtedly a strong support, there aren't many teams that can actually benefit from her yet. Yes, this sounds ridiculous even for myself, but one particular problem I found is that there are so many DPS that heavily relies on shields for various reasons, including the almighty god Neuvillette if you don't have his C1. So for all these cases, Jolie is just far better than a C0 Xilonen, even though his buff is a lot weaker than her, especially without Arcade Petra. That's a real current stat of Xilonen, but even so, I can't really tell you to skip her at all, because we all can see that she has a very high potential to be meta, especially when we have more last line DPS in the future. Well, that's basically everything I have to say for our Discord girl. So what are your thoughts about her? Please share with me in the comment section. Thanks for watching and I'll be seeing you in the next one.